Welcome to my video. You are doing amazing, even if it doesn't feel like it. In my last couple of videos, I talked about what to do when we are sobering up and we see the giant mountain of problems in front of us, and it just makes us want to go drink again. And you should definitely watch those videos because they are definitely a lead up to this one if you can go back and catch up to this one, because now I'm going to go into how to unpack. So we have this baggage we're carrying around. I'm going to go into how we can unpack each of the problems in our baggage and handle them without feeling overwhelmed. That is what this video is about. If that feels awesome to you, then you should stay. You could go catch up on those other videos and come back to this one. Hi, I am Kate. I am the author of the Addiction and Alcoholism Recovery Skills for Women book series. This is book 1. This is book 2. They're being used in rehabs, recovery centers, peer-recovery support groups by therapists, etc. And I have created something to go along with those books that is very, very helpful. All the details will be in the description box below. Okay, in the last video, we talked about creating our list of problems, visualizing, putting them all into the container. I'm getting ahead of myself. Very excited. Putting them all into the container and then finding a storage place for those problems, and then focusing on going all in, balls to the wall on your sobriety and showing up and doing the next right thing as your priority right now, day in and day out, until you feel stronger. When you feel stronger, and you will if you stick with that number one priority, all in onto your sobriety and doing your best to do the next right thing. And the next right thing might just be when you wake up in the morning, the next right thing is that you need to go to the bathroom, and you're going to go to the bathroom sober. That's how you're going to think about it if you need to think about it on that granular of a level. I certainly did when I was working on getting sober. That's your number one priority. When you feel stronger and you're ready to think about those problems, because they're not going to go away, you can pull out the suitcase. Mine's a suitcase. My container is a suitcase. You can pull out your container from wherever you imagined storing it away. And you're going to imagine this. You're going to close your eyes and you're going to think about going to get it and pulling it out, and then opening it up and pulling out that first problem. And then you're going to work on that problem. And the way we are going to do this without feeling overwhelmed is we are going to use something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, so I have an image here. Okay, there it is. So we're going to go into this. So we're not going to do it exactly like this for our purposes, but we are going to model this. I actually wrote about it in detail in this book on how to use the Maslow's hierarchy of needs to get through all of the problems in the right order, the most urgent order, so that you can be taken care of and you can get to a place of actually really loving yourself and what you have accomplished in your sobriety, so that you can continue on a happy, sober life. Sobriety does not have to be boring or miserable, or you just walking around hating yourself all the time. Does not have to be like that. If it feels like that, then something isn't fitting. Something is missing, and we need to work on that. So ideally, you have created your list of problems that have gone into your container. And when you feel strong enough, you're going to go back to that list and you're going to prioritize based on this hierarchy. So this is the framework for the general hierarchy of the progress of human development, right? So the bottom is where we start. It's physiological needs. And we start there, and basically it's being alive, breathing, making sure you have food, water, and warmth and sleep and all of those basic human needs in the immediate now. That is the baseline of our hierarchy. And then the next is security of those things, right? So we are going to move through those things as we prioritize the problems on our list. So it is likely in the first time being sober that you are also prioritizing the number one thing, which is all in on your sobriety and doing the next right thing. Doing the next right thing probably involved you continuing to breathe, continuing to find food and shelter and things like that. And so that is the first thing that you're going to take out of your suitcase. So say you aren't quite feeling strong enough to tackle the other levels, you do need to work on that baseline. So if you are homeless, getting yourself into a shelter, that would be a problem that you would visualize taking your container out, opening the container, and then taking out, okay, I need to find a place to live. And then what you do is you put that aside and you visualize closing the container and putting it back into storage and holding that. Only that you're going to find a place to live. And if that is you, you can look into a women's shelter or a sober living environment or even rehab if you can. I recommend rehab. I really do. I know a lot of people have their complaints about rehab. My experience was very, very good. And so you're going to only focus on that one thing. And then when that one thing is resolved, you feel steady, then you're going to move to something else on that same level of the hierarchy. Or if you feel like you're pretty steady in that level, you move on to the next one. I'm not going to go through all of the levels in this video. This is just a description of how we're going to tackle the pile of problems in our suitcase so that we can, or I keep on calling it a suitcase because mine is a suitcase, and I call it the suitcase method actually in my books. So in our container, we're going to continue on that trajectory going through that hierarchy of needs. So the hierarchy is the physiological needs, making sure we have what we need to survive, and then security, making sure that we have what we need to survive in the near future or long-term future, ideally, is what we would want. But in the near future, say you rent an apartment, you have that for the next 30 days, right? Because you paid rent. And then the next level would be social needs. So that's when you would feel strong enough to start to really build new friendships, maybe repair some old ones and reach out to family and things like that. And then community is then in the third level as well. But community is something that we also want to start working on while we're going all in on our sobriety. We're going to find some sort of recovery community. So that actually starts at level 1. And then self-esteem, where we start to work on our own confidence and maybe our career and what we're going to do with ourselves and our lives. And then self-actualization, the purple one on the top, is where we're just ready. We love ourselves. We're ready. We're off to the races, ready to be the best we can possibly be in life. And we're loving life. That is actually where I feel like I am. And I cannot believe it because I came from the bottom. I came from the red. In the next video, I am going to go in a little bit more on how to categorize our list of problems into the hierarchy so we can get it a little bit more organized and know what we're going to pull out of our container each time we're ready to work on a problem. And also kind of a general formula for what we're going to do to approach each problem as we pull a new problem out once we feel like we are solid and we have really come to a place where we're comfortable with the plan, with the prior problem, if not already solved it. So that video will be somewhere on the screen here. I will get the hang of pointing to exactly where one day maybe. Anyway, it'll be somewhere on the screen here. Go check that one out next.